Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Daniel Laskewitz, and I'm going to talk today about Copilot Studio. And I'm surprised that the room is fully seated, because normally when I talk at a Code First conference, I talk about low-code tooling, and the the code people are usually like, well, low-code, not a big fan. But I'm hoping to show you as much as I can about low-code that will be of use to you, at least to try it out. So I'm going to talk about building and extending agents with Microsoft Copilot Studio. And by a show of hands, how many of you already used Copilot Studio? A couple. Oh, wow. So what I'm intending to do during the session is I would like to show as much as I can demos, because I think slides are interesting, but the demos tell you way more about it. So to introduce myself a little bit, my name is Daniel Laskewitz, and I'm a senior cloud advocate at Microsoft. And that means that I'm basically in developer relations. At Microsoft, we always like to name things differently, as you might know. So yeah, cloud advocate might not say a lot about it, but I'm doing developer relations, and I'm focusing on the Power Platform. The agenda for this session is basically starting with a Copilot Studio overview. So I'm going to talk about what Copilot Studio is and what you can do with it. Then after that, I will talk a little bit about building agents, and I'll show you a couple of demos during that part. And after that, we will talk about AI Builder Prompt Builder, which is a really cool feature which you can use inside of Copilot Studio. And lastly, I will talk a little bit about extensibility, because it's pretty cool that you can use Copilot Studio for low-code, but sometimes you want to have a little bit of a hybrid situation between low-code and pro-code. And that's what I'll talk about in the end. So let's start by the Copilot Studio overview. Copilot Studio is part of the Power Platform, which is the low-code platform within Microsoft. And it consists of multiple products. You can see the outer ring here, and those are the products. So you can see Power BI, that's for analytics. You can see Power Apps, which is for app development. You can see Power Automate, which is for automation. Copilot Studio, which is what we're going to talk about today, and that's for building agents. And lastly, we have Power Pages, which is for website development. Under that, we have a bunch of supporting services. We have Power FX, which is the formula language within the Power Platform. We have Dataverse, which is a database plus. It will give you a whole lot of functionalities out of the box that you can use. There's a really enhanced security model that you can have there. And it's pretty easy to configure. We also have connectors, which are, for me, one of the most exciting things in the Power Platform, because with connectors, you can connect to all kinds of backend services. So for instance, we have 1,400 plus connectors now out of the box available. So if you want to connect, for instance, to SAP, or if you want to connect to Azure services, there are tons of connectors for that, and you can really easily use those inside of the Power Platform products. If you have your own API, you can also create your own custom connector if you want to. So if you have a .NET API, for instance, a web API, and you want to enable that also in the Power Platform, you can do that by creating a custom connector. Lastly, we have AI Builder in this row, and that is basically AI for low-code. So you don't have to be a data scientist. You can just use some models that are already out of the box available, or you can configure them, fine-tune them a little bit, and it's a low-code experience for people. So people who don't have a data science degree, they can still use the AI tools in there. And it makes it really simple, because you don't have to worry about API keys. You don't have to worry about all the infrastructure behind it. It will just work really easily for you. And lastly, we have managed environments, which is a way to make your environment in the Power Platform a little bit easier to administrate. It has a lot of administration features that are really simple to use, and that way you don't have to create all kinds of different things in there as well. And it's also for governance. So as you can imagine, if you have a low-code platform and you will enable everybody to create apps, to create automations, to create agents, you might want to see what they are doing in the Power Platform, and that's where managed environments comes into play as well. When we talk about Copilot Studio is a way to build your own agents, or you can extend Microsoft 365 Copilot. On the left side, you can see Copilot, and that's where we are thinking that whenever you use Microsoft Copilot, you can already do a whole bunch of things. You can use it as your personal assistant. You can talk about your email, talk about your appointments, everything in there. And then on top of that, we will build agents. And agents are a way to kind of make it a little bit more specified to a certain process, for instance. And what we want to do there is we want to create an agent for every business process basically out there. And those agents, you can do a lot of things with those. You can add actions in there, for instance, and actions are based on those connectors that I was talking about. So actions can be, for instance, to save something to SAP, or to get data from SAP, or to use ServiceNow, or those kinds of tools. You can do that as well. And when you use agents, you have three types of agents. You can build agents yourself, of course. You can use agents that are built by Microsoft. So there are a whole bunch of pre-built agents already available. And you can have, of course, agents built by third-party ISVs. So as you can see, Adobe, for instance, is one of them, ServiceNow, SAP. They all have their own agents, and you can add those as well if you want to. Copilot Studio, it offers a couple of things really well. So building your own agents is something that you can do within Copilot Studio. You can extend Microsoft 365 Copilot. You can add all your own data to it as well. So if you want to add, for instance, a website to it, you can do that. Then it can do RAG on a website. You can add all kinds of documents if you want to. And then you will be able to chat over that data. Let's talk a little bit about building agents. So we have a life cycle for agents. And when you start building an agent, you can describe what you want. So you have just a text box. You can describe what you would like to have as an agent. And then you will go into a conversational experience, and I will show that in a little bit, where you can kind of chat with Copilot Studio about what kind of agent you want. And then after that, you can create that agent. You can add triggers nowadays because we have autonomous agents, and they can work basically on a certain signal. So for instance, what you can have is when somebody uploads a document, or when somebody sends you an email, you can trigger an agent and it will go through a process by itself instead of having to chat with it all the time, for instance. You can add your own files, websites, files, etc. to the agent, and then you can chat over that data as well. So if you, for instance, have your own product website or your company website, and you want to add that information to your agent, you can just add the URL and then chat over that knowledge as well. But when that's not enough, you can also create specific topics. And those topics are a little bit more structured. So what you can do there is you can kind of design the conversation that you have. You can ask a question, then do something with the answer, ask another question if you want to, etc. So you can really design how Copilot Studio will use the agent with the users. Next, you can add actions. So you can use all those different connectors that I was talking about. So you can, for instance, add an action to get data from SAP, or maybe to trigger a logic app, or do all kinds of things behind the scenes. That is possible in there as well. You can also use your own APIs, as I said, with custom connectors. And then when you are ready, when you are already done with a lot of the content, for instance, of your agent, you can publish it to multiple channels. And this is really one of the superpowers of Copilot Studio. You can easily add it to, for instance, Facebook. You can add it to Teams. You can add it to Slack. You can add it to all kinds of different channels. And you are also enabled to, for instance, in different scenarios, use different paths, for instance. So if you create, for instance, those topics, you can give different answers based on the channel that you are, based on the functionalities that you have there. The next thing, when you publish your agent and people are using your agents, you of course also want to monitor if your agent is working well, if people are happy with what the agent is offering. So you have monitor and improve step as well, where you can see the CSAT scores, for instance, the customer satisfaction scores, and those will be given by the users when they are at the end of a conversation. They can vote on how well they thought the conversation was, and that will all end up in the monitor and improve stage. And that's really interesting because that will give you a lot of insights on maybe what to add to your agent, or maybe to add a conversation in there or a topic in there to maybe redirect them to another agent if that one supports it in that case as well. And lastly, we have services at the end. You can add a whole bunch of services extra. As I said, the low-code tool here is Copilot Studio, but we also have a pro-code offering, Azure AI Foundry. There are a bunch of services in there that we can use together with Copilot Studio. So it is not really a choice if you need to use Copilot Studio or Azure AI Foundry. You can use them together as well. So you can kind of combine them together in a certain way. And when you are working in Copilot Studio, you can really build the way you want. So as you can see here on the left, we have a lot of pre-built agents. The pre-built agents are already ready to use. You can just click on it, you can configure it a little bit, and then you can create that agent. You don't have to add a lot of information, it's just there already. Next, we have a way to create agents with natural language. That is the conversational experience, what I was talking about. So you can just describe in natural language what you want your agent to do, and then it will create the agent for you. Next, we have the visual canvas. And that's the part where I was talking about those different topics, where you want to really design the conversation in a certain way. You want to ask a bunch of questions and then act on the answers on the questions, for instance. And that's what you can do in the visual canvas. And lastly, we are at a code conference. We also have code. So you can switch to YAML code, because everything you do in the UI, it will convert to YAML in the backend. And it's all kinds of YAML that you can kind of copy and paste as well. You can create snippets and that kind of stuff. And that is something that you can do as well in Copilot Studio. Now let's start with a demo, because I've been talking already for way too long. So let's skip to the demo. And let me zoom in a little bit. So when you go to copilotstudio.microsoft.com and you log in, you will get to the homepage. And the homepage of Copilot Studio, it has a big box at the top where you can describe your agent to create it. So this is the natural language part that you have. So you can describe in the text box what you want and then start from there. But in this case, I will start with a pre-built agent. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit. You can see a bunch of agents here. Already pre-built agents. You can click on see more at the side to see even more agents that you can create. But in this case, I am gonna use the Save Travels agent, which is a travel agent. What I can do here is I can click on the Save Travels agent. It will use a template that's available. It already has a name, it has an icon, it has a description, it has instructions, and it also has knowledge in there. The knowledge at the bottom, it has a US travel website, and that's part of the template. But this is a website for the US government, basically, about travel. And we are now in the Netherlands, so it doesn't really make sense to have a US travel website. I want to add a different site as well. So I'm going to click on Add Knowledge. And this is the part where you can add all kinds of knowledge to your agent. You can upload files, you can add a public website, you can add a SharePoint site where you have a bunch of documents, for instance. You can use Dataverse, you can even click on Advanced, and there are a whole bunch of extra sources as well. So you can use, for instance, Azure DevOps Wiki, you can use Azure DevOps Work Items, Confluence. There are tons of possibilities there. So that is really interesting as well. In this case, I'm going to use public websites, and I am going to add a link here. And this is an European Union website for the citizens, and it also includes travel advice, for instance. So I'm going to add that to this agent. The thing that I want to change is the name, because it just uses the URL here, and I want to have a little bit more of a better description on what the site is. So I'm going to add EU travel site. I'm going to add this to the agent, and now I think I'm ready. So I'm going to click create. This will set up my agent. So it's going to start creating my agent. It will provision all the parts that it needs, and it should load it in a fairly quick way. There we are. So here we are in the agent experience, where I can already start configuring my agent. As you can see here, there's a publish button, which is grayed out. It is still provisioning at that moment. So you can already do a bunch of things, but it's still provisioning. So it will take a couple of seconds before the publish button is available, because it's not fully set up yet. And there we go. You could already see now the publish button is available, and now everything is provisioned. So be a little bit aware when you create an agent. It sometimes takes like 20 seconds or something before it's fully provisioned, and some of the features inside of your agent are not yet available then. So you need to be a little bit patient before it's fully there, but you can do already a whole bunch of things there. Now I have created an agent with some knowledge. So what I can do now is I can start asking questions on the site, because I have a testing pane on the site where I can ask, for instance, about the US travel website, what is the US visa policy? And when I ask that, it will go through all the knowledge sources that we have. And if all goes well, it's going to give me a whole answer with a whole bunch of details. It will also show references at the bottom. And when I hover those, I can actually see, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit, I can see here at the bottom that I have the travel.state.gov website. And that is basically the website, the US travel website, that was already added to the agent by the default template configuration. But now we also want to ask another question, because we added also the EU website. So I'm going to ask something about Schengen. So let's ask that question, and it will go through all the knowledge sources. And if all goes well, I can hover that reference as well, and then I can go down to the bottom here, and you can see that there is a europa.eu website, and that's the website that I just added. So this is how easy you can get started with a pre-built agent. Let me quickly go to the presentation again. Because what we did now was we added a public website in the knowledge section, but there are a lot of other things as well. So you can add public websites, you can add SharePoint, you can add Dataverse, you can add all kinds of things there, even your own files from your laptop, for instance, if you want to. You will be able to have multi-turn questions. So if you, for instance, ask a question about a website and you want to have a more specified answer, you can ask follow-up questions in there, and it really helps you creating an agent really fast. The permissions is a really cool part. So when you, for instance, use SharePoint, SharePoint has their own permissions. So you can have a document library in there. You can have all kinds of folders. Imagine an HR scenario where you have, for instance, policies per country at a company. What you can do there is, for instance, for people in the Netherlands, you will have the policies for the Netherlands that they have available, but they won't have access to the US policies, for instance. And that kind of thing, when users go to your agent, it will inherit those permissions. So people, when they use the agent, they will only see the content they have access to. So that way you can already do all the permission management in there, so that you can easily inherit that at least. So let's go into that as well and go to the next demo. In this case, I'm gonna go with another scenario because I already showed you how to create a pre-built agent. Now we are gonna go through the creation of an agent through natural language. So I'm gonna start with the text box at the top. As you can see, there are a couple of different buttons that I can click on, and this will enable me to kind of see what what kind of examples there are. So if I want to have an HR and benefits agent, I can click on that and it will show me an example of what I could enter. So that can give you a little bit of an idea on what to enter. I already have an text basically available, prompt available, and what I want is create an agent to help answer questions about and troubleshoot problems with Microsoft products. I work for Microsoft, and of course there are never problems with Microsoft products, so let's make that clear. But I'm going to click on send, and this will enable the conversational experience. So what is really cool about this is that you kind of have a conversation with Copilot Studio about how to create the agent and what can be part of that. As you can see on the right, I only entered one little sentence, and it already used AI to answer to add a whole bunch of instructions in there. So it generated those based on my first sentence. It's now asking me about a name for my agent. I had Microsoft Support Assistant. Let's do it like that, and then call it Future Tech. And when I hit send, you can already see that it will change a little bit. And it changed the title here for the agent, and it changed it to the site as well. Now it's asking me what specific task or goal should this agent accomplish. What I can do here is I can add, for instance, the tone that it can have, and also for troubleshooting request, please reply in bullet points format listing the steps to resolve, and don't talk about products or services that aren't Microsoft. When I send that, it will update on the site again all the instructions here, and it's using those things in there. Let's also answer this one. Always provide clear and concise answers. So let me do that as well. Clear and concise answers. So it will add that as well. So you can see that on the side. It says now the agent Microsoft Support Assistant Future Tech is now set up to help answer questions and etc. If you have any further refinements or changes, feel free to let me know. And I want to add a couple of sites. So I'm going to add those in there. And I'm going to add in the front, please add these websites. And it will add it to the site as well. So I can kind of talk to the Copilot Studio to configure my agent in there. For now, I'm happy, so I'm going to click Create, and that will start setting up my agent. Okay, so here we are. And, uh-oh. Yes, saved by the bell. So what I can do now is I can ask some questions. So what is Copilot, for instance? And then it will go over those websites. And I can do the same thing as what I did just now with the travel agent. It's just showing Microsoft.com learn answers. One thing I want to show you as well is I'm going to ask a troubleshoot question, because I gave it the instructions to reply in bullet point format. When it's a troubleshooting request. And as you can see, it will inherit that as well. So here we are. This is a question I asked, and it will put it nicely in bullet points here so that you can do that as well. Now I want to add something else as well, because we have seen already the public websites. Now let's do something else here, and let's add SharePoint. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a SharePoint site. This is my SharePoint site here that I have, and let me open up that as well. So I have a IT SharePoint site, and it has a bunch of things available here. It has some documents, it has FAQ pages here, and for instance, under the security and data protection part, there is a question, where can I report a lost or stolen device, and there is a bunch of details in there. So when I go to the Add SharePoint part, I'm going to add that to the agent, and this will take a little while before it's there. I'm going to refresh the test your agent part. That is also a good idea to do every once in a while when you have added a whole bunch of different knowledge in there. And now I am going to ask, where can I report a lost or stolen device? And when I send this, it should go look through the knowledge again and go through all the different knowledge sources. And there we go. It responds with an answer, and it also shows that this answer is found on the SharePoint site that I just showed. So this is the part, the IT site that I added to the agent, and it can give me that answer as well. So now let's move on. This was the part where you can add knowledge to all kinds of things. The next part is going to be about logic. So the part where I was talking about those different topics, that's what you can do with the logic part. So what you can, if you want to have complete control over what you can ask and what you can answer, that is where you use those topics. So you can have a question, you can do something with the output of the question, you can add all kinds of things in that topic if you want to. And this is something that's really cool. So I'm going to show that in a little bit in a demo. What's also interesting is the channel part. So when you are done with creating your agent, you might want to put it on certain channels. So you want to add it to your website, maybe. You want to add it to your app. You want to add it maybe to Slack. You want to add it to Facebook. There's tons of possibilities there. You can also add multiple channels to your agent to multiple channels. Yeah, Skype is on there, and yeah, I really need to update the screenshot. Sorry for that. I had multiple things there already, but you can add it to a whole bunch of different services, also WhatsApp if you want to, etc. Actions are a really cool part because actions are those connectors that I talked about. So there's 1,400 plus connectors. You have all kinds of actions in there. So you can, for instance, send an email with Outlook if you want to, or create a meeting. Those kinds of things are possible. But you can also get data from SAP and maybe create a ticket in ServiceNow. There's tons of possibilities that you have there. And there are a whole bunch of connectors available for you. What you can also do is you can trigger a workflow from there. So we had Microsoft Power Automate as one of the services inside of the Power Platform. You can trigger Power Automate workflows if you want to as well. And we even have bot framework skills. If you already have used bot framework in the past, you can add those skills to Copilot Studio as well. So let's go and work on that part. So I am gonna go to the next demo. Okay. Let's click on the, what are we gonna do? We're gonna do the future tech one. So what we have now, we only have knowledge added, but you might want to do something extra as well. You don't want to only answer questions about the knowledge, but you might also want something more interesting on your data. What you can do then is you can go to topics, and topics are those kind of designed, more structured kind of conversations that you can have. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a topic from blank. And I'm gonna add a topic here called get devices. The trigger is based on phrases. So what I can do is I can add phrases here. For instance, get devices. And when I talk about devices, it will trigger this topic. So that's basically how you can make sure that people are really creating that topic or hitting that topic. The first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to add an action. So what I can do now is I can click here on connectors because I want to use connectors. And I'm going to use the get items action from SharePoint because, and let me click on that. I already have a IT website that I showed you just now, but we also have a list here, a list of devices. And all those items have, for instance, a manufacturer, they have a color, they have an asset type, for instance, so if it's a laptop, if it's a smartphone, etc. And I want to get those assets. So I'm going to click submit here because it creates a connection so that I can get details from that SharePoint site. And now I am going to configure this action. So it's now loading to get that connector action available. What I can do now is I can select a site address, and that's the IT site that I will pick here. And the next thing that I want to do is I want to select a list. So when I click on that, I can select the list in that site, and that's the devices list that I want. And next, as an output, you can see that I have a record here called get items. I want to change that because the name doesn't say a lot, so I'm going to change this to var devices. And what I want to do next is I want to put something in front of that because getting the items from a list is not enough for me. I also want the user of the agent to answer a question before. So I want to ask them about something before I trigger that action. And what I want to do now is I want to ask a question, what type of device are you looking for? And I want to add a bunch of options. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add an option called desktop. I'm going to add another one called laptop, and I'm going to add another one called smartphone. So those are the different options that I have. And I want to also save that again in a variable. And I'm going to call this var device type so that I really can easily find what this output is. The next step I want to do is I want to do something with the output of that question. So I'm going to add another node. And here I'm going to go to variable management and set a variable value. I'm going to add a variable here. And I'm going to change the name again to something that's a little bit more descriptive, var filter. So this will be the filter that we're going to use later on. And I want to set the variable to a certain value. So in this case, I'm going to click on the icon to the side. And what I can do now is I can select a variable. I can add custom variables, system variables, environment variables. But in this case, I'm going to use a PowerFX formula. That's the formula language within the Power Platform. And that enables me to, for instance, concatenate. So I'm going to use the concatenate function, and I'm going to use a whole bunch of text here. And this is just an OData query, basically, or an OData filter. And it says status has to be available, and asset type has to be equal to the var device type that I just entered. When I insert that, that will set the value to that filter. And now I also want to add that to the advanced inputs, because in the advanced inputs, we have a filter query, and that's where I want to add that. So I'm going to click on the icon to the right, and I'm going to select var filter, and that will make sure that we trigger the right things, that we get the right items. The next step that I want to do is I want to also send the output of that action, and I want to add a adaptive card here. Adaptive cards are really cool because normally in an agent, you always have text. So you can ask a question and then you get text back. I want to make it a little bit more interesting. So I'm creating an adaptive card where I can add images, and it will design it a little bit better. And I think that's a better experience for the end user. So I'm going to add to change to formula, and I will add a adaptive card here. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so that you can see what is in there. What you can see here is, for instance, I have a text block at the beginning called available devices. I have below that a container. What's really interesting is that the container contains a bunch of items. And in here, I have a for all formula. That's again power of x, and that's kind of a loop. So what it does, it will loop over the var devices.value property, and it will go through everything that comes back basically from that connector action that I just created. And it will go over that, and it will, for every item, it will create a column set with columns. It will add an image. It will add a whole bunch of things in there. And that's basically how this will work. I'm going to exit out of this. I'm going to save it because I'm already happy with it. I'm going to refresh the test your agent part. And I want to start by asking what devices are there. As you might remember, in the beginning we had those trigger phrases, and get devices was the trigger phrase, but it will automatically pick up on the get devices part. So when I send and hit what devices are there, it already starts with a question, and you can really follow along with these things. You see here the check mark of what's already been done. And you can see that we have a question, what type of device are you looking for? In this case, I'm going to click on a smartphone, and then we get a prompt for permissions. And this is something within Copilot Studio that we have. We always default to user permissions so that it is really secure, because you're connecting to SharePoint, and there might be some devices that you don't have access to, for instance. So you have a role, maybe for some people you need like a simple small device, and for other people they need a more heavy laptop, for instance, for developer tasks, for instance. So that's why we get the permissions here. I can click on connect, and that will open a new window. And what I can do here is I can manage my connections, and I can click on connect. Then it will create or pick a connection. And because we're single sign-on here, I can now click on submit, and it already created it for me. And now I can close the window, and I can retry. And what it does then, it will go through the action, and it will give me two options for phones. I noticed that one image is missing, but this is basically the adaptive card that we just saw. But again, I want to try another one. So let me try it again. What devices are there? And now I want to, for instance, use a laptop. And as you can see, it now automatically loads because I already created that connection that I was just showing. So it's only a one-time thing when you connect to an agent and you connect to those different connector actions. And this is how you can kind of see the different parts there. So let me quickly go further and talk about the AI Builder Prompt Builder. The AI Builder Prompt Builder is really cool because what it enables you to do, you can create prompts in the prompt builder, and you can kind of create them as a function. You can have inputs, for instance. So you can have text inputs, you can have file inputs, and you can use that inside of your prompt. You can make them available to multiple products in the Power Platform. So you can not only use them in Copilot Studio, but you can use them also in Power Apps and Power Automate. You can, for instance, use the file and image input for multimodal prompts, but you can also ground it on data inside of Dataverse. There are a bunch of models available. GPT-4o Mini, GPT-4o were available until this week, I believe, and now they also have O1 available in preview. And there will be more coming in the future as well. We are heavily investing on that as well. And what's really cool is you can use different types of output. So you can, for instance, have JSON as output, but you can also have text as output. For instance, in Copilot Studio, it makes a lot of sense to have text output because the conversation is usually in text. So that's something that you can do. But you can imagine when you use an app, for instance, and you want to have more structured data, that JSON might be a good one as well. With that, let's move to another demo. I said I liked doing demos, so I'm trying to do as much as I can. So in this case, let me refresh the page and see if the agents will show up that I just created, because we're going to go back to a different agent that I created before, and that's the Safe Travels one. In this case, I want to create a topic, and I'm going to add a topic here, and I'm going to start from blank. And what I'm going to start with is I'm going to again use a title for my topic, because I always wanted to be a bit descriptive. So I'm going to add the trigger phrase, and in this case I'm going to add travel plan, and can you help me build a travel plan as the trigger phrases. Next, I want to ask people, when they hit this topic, I want to ask them a couple of questions. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to ask it with an adaptive card, because sometimes when you ask a question, I really hate it that you ask a question and then you answer something, then you get another question, then you answer something, the like ping-ponging back and forth. I don't like that. So what I'm doing is I'm going to ask with an adaptive card, and I already pre-created a adaptive card, so let me change that as well. In this case, I'm just going to use JSON, and when I exit this, you can already see what the adaptive card is. Because it's a really simple adaptive card, it will show it as a preview. And what I'm going to get is a travel plan adaptive card. It's going to ask me a couple of questions. Where are you going to, and how many activities are you looking for? And then I want to have a travel plan available. So the next step, I'm going to create a prompt. So I'm going to add an action here. I'm going to create a new prompt. Oh, sorry. Create a new prompt. And this will open the prompt builder. This is the thing that I was talking about. So what I am going to get now is I'm going to get the prompt builder. I can give it a name, for instance. So let me add a name, travel plan. I can paste a prompt here. In this case, I'm pasting the prompt, please give me number options for activities and destination for people who are there for the first time. Please return a numbered list with emojis, because everybody wants to see a little bit of an emoji, of course, in the name of the activity, and give it a brief description. On the side, you have a couple of icons. What I can do here is I can click on the input icon, and I can start adding inputs. In this case, I'm going to add a text input, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add number, and I'm going to add sample data in there. I'm going to add another input called destination, and I'm going to add sample data in there as well. And now I need to add those to my prompt. So here I have a placeholder for number. I can just select that and hit slash, and then I can click on in your prompt, and then I can select the input in there. And for destination, I can do the same. So let's do that as well. And now I am ready. So I'm going to test the prompt, and it will show me already what the output of the prompt might be. So this is where I can kind of test what if it's doing what I want it to do. In this case, I'm going to just save it, because I'm ready already with the prompt. So let's save this one, and this should save it to the Power Platform, back to the Power Platform as a component, and it will automatically add it to my Copilot Studio topic. And what I can do now is I can select the inputs, destination and number. We already had those available as output from the adaptive card. So what I can do here is I can easily select destination and number, and I can select a variable. I'm going to add a new variable. I'm going to rename this really quickly to var prompt output. And now we have the prompt, but we have the output, but we also want to make sure that we send that to the user. So send a message here, and here I can select insert variable, and then I can look at the variables that I have available. I have var prompt output, but that is an object, and we have two properties in there. We have a finish, reason, and text. The text is the one that I want to use, because that's the output of the prompt. And for now, I think we're good. So let's save this one and then refresh it on the side again. And what I can do now is I can ask a question, travel plan, for instance, and it will trigger that topic again. I can ask for Utrecht, for instance, because we are there now, and another 3 activities. When I hit submit, it will trigger that prompt, and it will communicate it back, and because it's Markdown, it will also show the formatting in here, and that is basically how easy it is to add that a prompt to your agent. Let's quickly talk about the extensibility. We're almost out of time. So when you want to, for instance, customize Microsoft 365 Copilot, you can do that as well. You can use Copilot Studio and Azure AI Foundry. What you can do, for instance, is what I said before. You can choose between them, but you can also kind of look like a dial here in the middle, and you can kind of customize how you want to use those two products together. I think it's not really a choice of going either for Copilot Studio or for Azure AI Foundry, but use them in whatever scenario is good for you. So try to mix them together in the way that is useful for you. Copilot Studio and Azure are integrated very well. So you can, for instance, use Azure AI Search if you want to. You can always use API calls inside of Copilot Studio to trigger some API if you want to. You can use telemetry with Azure App Insights, for instance. There are tons of possibilities available in that. If you want to connect to Azure AI Search, it's pretty easy. You can just connect that and make sure that you have a connection. You can select it inside of that knowledge part, and then you will be able to connect to your Azure AI Search. And also a new thing is bring your own model. So you can also bring your own model with the models from Azure AI Foundry if you want to. You can use those inside of Copilot Studio as well, so that you are not bound to only the OpenAI models that are in Copilot Studio. With that, I have a couple of links here for getting started today, and we have a bunch of tutorials. There's a lot of videos there. I'll leave it on a little bit to let everybody take pictures. And after that, I will show the feedback link. So please give me feedback about the session. And I hope you have a great lunch after this. Thank you.